Hello and welcome to another episode of Utopia Planitia. I am Teacher Kirby and I'm joined today by two of our panel members. We have Ed's evil twin. Say hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
See, he follows directions, doesn't he? Doesn't he, folks? And of course, we have with
Hold on,
us.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Men
Yeah.
never follow directions. We never ask for directions. We just aimlessly get lost.
This is true. Men do aimlessly get lost and they never ask for directions. But you did so well saying hi, Ed. Alright, and of course we have with us just Steve.
Just Steve is here. Kane isn't
Yep.
here. He's busy making some kind of special brownies for.
For his family.
Yeah.
Oh, I want those brownies now. I need to make me some special brownies.
They're very special brownies. We don't know what's in them. That's what makes them special.
Yeah, I do know what's in them.
You think you know.
I know.
Do you? Oh no, I'm taking on Steve's.
It's working.
Steve, no. Okay.
Lost.
Moving on. Moving on. So today we have, much to Ed's disdain, we have a Klingon.
Yay.
A Klingon D-7. Yay! Okay. So the D-7 was one of the newer Tier 6 ships that was offered. It was offered with the Tier 6. It was the Klingon variant offered with the Tier 6 Constitution, wasn't it?
Yes.
I believe so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty recent. The, of course, long-awaited Tier 6 Connie was the Fed offering there. So, as you can see, so this is a Klingon engineering officer. And he wants us to think it's attack. He wants to do, from my conversations with Gondar, he wants it to do more DPS. So whatever we can do to help it do more DPS.
Reroll his attack.
Wow.
Wow.
There's nothing wrong with an engineer.
No, there's not. There's not. I'm only saying that as a joke.
Yeah.
Engineers
makes
can
a
pull
joke.
damage.
But there is something wrong with British humor.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of people out there who will tell you reroll his attack, and as long as they're making a joke with it, it's fine. But there are plenty of engineers and science students who can do fine DPS. There's no reason to have to feel you have to choose attack in order to have fun and play your game.
Yeah,
And still
people out
make
there
DPS.
should know that I'm a big advocate of science DPS.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's brilliant. And while we're on the subject
Yes,
of
it is.
Klingons, it's not that I don't like Klingons, I just haven't played them that much. And when I first started, you had to play Klingons from level 24, and I found that a bit much. Then they brought in the new Klingon bit, and I already had a lot of tunes, and I haven't devoted time to it, so yeah, I have sort of neglected that side of the game.
Yeah.
So I will bow to some of your knowledge, especially with the ships, the officers and things. But while we're on the subject of Klingons, a little bit of a plug. Google Klingon 1200 micrograms. Turn your speakers up loud and bounce around your house. Absolutely brilliant piece of psytrance. Very, very Prodigy-esque. Anyway, back to the build.
Nice.
I'm not on any retainer at all, I promise that. It's just a piece of music I found
he's
called
not.
Klingon. But with a
He's
C.
not. Promise. He's not.
Yes.
Alright. So let's start with the equipment, as we usually do, because you want to have a good base for improving your DPS.
As Mara always told me, check out the junk first.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I would say, first thing I see here, he's got a Epic Disruptor Mark 14. It's not a bad disruptor. It's really not. But I would actually take it out, put it as one of the aft weapons, and get rid of one of the aft weapons completely to make room for the Terran Task Force.
Disruptor beam array.
Yes.
I think you need to edit in a
Okay.
little fanfare of trumpets at that point.
I know we need to edit
Absolutely
that in,
brilliant
right?
disruptor. Brilliant
Yes,
disruptor.
it
You
is.
can put it in there. And we've also got the added advantage that he's running coldest.
Yes, he is running Coalition Disruptors, or Coldest, as some of us call it. So the advantage here of Coalition Disruptors, they give an extra debuff to your target. And this really helps you with doing some extra damage. It especially takes effect or helps you out when you're using regular disruptors with it. So mixing regular disruptors with the coalition is not necessarily a bad idea. Okay, so pen damage to accuracy. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create this item. Disruptor beam array. There we go. Okay, and he's got hairpin. This is what we have to do just to make sure that we can get the actual ×2. Okay, and it was accuracy. There we go.
I think it's also viable with back beams. Looking at the mods on them, you can get away with crafting or buying crafted beams that have got even crit D2 damage to very decent weapons put on the back, and again will benefit from the coalition disruptor. If you can get one that's say like even crit D2 damage pen, damage to crit D pen, and upgrade them and put them on the back, you can still do it. Figures down.
Yeah. Now you'll notice when I'm putting this in, I'm putting the I'm putting it at Mark 12 or Mark 13, sorry, and I'm putting it at ultra rare because that is, you'll notice we'll point out other equipment here. That is where he's going to get it, or what he's going to get it at from his reputation. So if you look at all of his deflector and his shield, they are Mark 13 ultra rare, and he's got of course the impulse and the warp core already up to 14 epic. But that tells me, and I know we've actually chatted with Gondor a bit, so I know he's unlocked that Mark 13 ultra rare unlock. So that's what he's going to get this beam at. So that's something to remember. If you did manage to have or to be able to create a temporal agent during the event and have the account-wide unlocks available, it is certainly beneficial to finish all 9 reputations on that character so that you can unlock that Mark 13 ultra rare upgrade for all of your reputation gear. Definitely a big bonus. Alright, now Steve, you mentioned something about the torpedo in our pre-show conference.
Yeah, so he obviously wants to have a torpedo on there, and I see he has the neutronic, but I think with the the new Echoes of Light that's out and the rewards with that Nausicaan torpedo, since it does disruptor energy damage, putting that in instead when it's available next week would
Next week.
probably benefit this build a lot. With that said, I don't know
Yeah.
what your guys' thoughts are, but maybe running the 3-piece set.
Yeah, I
on
quite like the
this.
sound of what you were saying earlier on, especially if the damage does scale with the consoles from the TAC, it's gonna be a nice little torpedo. And the other thing is, would it benefit from the coalition disruptor if it's a disruptor effect?
That's a good question. I mean,
Yeah, it's one thing we'll have to look and see and test.
we're not sure yet. We can guess based on the anti-proton torpedo that's been out for a while. Based on that, we guess it's going to benefit from disruptor consoles. We guess that it's going to benefit, that it's going to have the same disruptor effects that beam disruptors or energy weapon disruptors have, which means it probably would benefit from the coalition disruptor proc. And yeah, that's so based on past experience with the anti-proton torpedo, we can infer a couple of those things. So
And if he's going to run a
yeah.
torpedo, the only other torpedo I would think to run is possibly the Terran Task Force torpedo, just to get the set bonus with the beam.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Okay. Yeah, I would think if you're not going to run the two-piece set bonus, which is, let me pull it up. And I don't actually have it on this tune, but we can still look at the reputation. Okay. So for the, okay, and no ground, here we go. Alright, so the set bonus they're talking about, the two-piece set bonus is focused detonations, which does give a little bit of extra firepower to your torpedo. So not a terrible thing to have if you're going to have torpedoes. It's an extra way of buffing them up without taking up a console slot or using up any of those valuable spec points. So excuse me there. So definitely an interesting thought. I'm thinking though probably the free torpedo from the Echoes of Light that's going to be available next week would be better, both on Gondor's pocketbook because he's not rich. He's not one of those whales. We know that he doesn't have a lot of resources. It's going to take a lot for him to get the Terran Task Force beam, on his own. So I would say let's make it a little easier on him and go for the Echoes of Light.
Yeah, the Nausicaan Energy
The
torpedo.
Nausicaan Energy Torp, yeah. Which is not going to be in here. So I'm going to leave the, I'm going to put it in the notes to get the Nausicaan Energy Torp when it becomes available. Okay. So I've put that in the notes. Get the Nausicaan Energy Torp when it becomes available. Okay, so we'll leave that as is. And You know, if we're gonna do the Noskin Energy Torp, you were talking about completing that set for the
I,
three-piece there.
I think it's worth something to try. I mean, because just the beam alone gives you a 20% disruptor damage, which I'm guessing is a Cat 1. And it's also giving you a power transfer
Right.
rate of 26.7. Um,
Yeah,
but to get the full benefit, I think, out of that set, you'd have to run the three piece. Where the three
Yeah.
piece gives you the Nausicaan Power Initiative, which is an
Well,
additional 26.6 disruptor
hmm
damage.
you do get the disruptor net, and it
Yeah.
gains 200 disruptor damage per second for 5 seconds, which, yeah, is uh, is improved by quite a bit. With your it scales with your weapons training and energy training, and
Yeah.
then of course the power initiative. Yeah, definitely, you gain a lot of hull pen from that. I mean the disruptor damage, it's minimal, but the hull pen is huge. I mean that's like spending an extra first level point for it. That's half of the skill points your levels ever spend in hull pen right there just from having a three-piece set, which is nice. So yeah, and I like the fact that it's free. So it's
free is good.
definitely, yeah, free is good.
Very
Free
good.
is very good.
Now, the only downside to the three piece is that the siphon capacitor is a science
Is a
console.
science, yeah.
I wish they would have
Wish they
a
would have made it
universal.
a universal, yeah.
But I think the fact that he's got three science consoles,
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's taken a lot away from plasma explosions and stuff like that. But
I think he'll
worth.
benefit moreover, yeah, from the whole pen. So I would move one of the coalition disruptors to the back
Yes.
and take off one of the regular disruptors. And the reason we're doing that is, I mean, he's still going to have similar to a regular disruptor, but the he's going to have the Nausicaan disruptor on the front. So, and there we go. And so I'm going to replace that with the coalition disruptor. You would think I could copy from another, but since I'm going fore to aft, no. And I would really like that if anybody from STO Academy is listening. It would be really nice if you could, if the copy from another slot included both fore and aft. Just saying, would make our lives easier.
What would make it even easier if you are listeners, if you literally just hold down a control key and drag the weapon from one slot to the next to
Oh,
copy it in there. A drag a copy
that would
feature.
really make it
It would
a lot
it would
easier.
make life so much easier because most builds that we are talking about and when we are specking them up, especially on the stream, they are going to be a weapon of a similar ilk. So we might have damage 3 pen or crit D3 pen or all damage in the slots. So it'd be a nice feature to have, guys. Especially for attack consoles, side consoles. So is that all of our
Yeah,
weapon slots covered?
that is all of our weapon slots covered, and I'm modifying things right now here. And I know because I looked at it, he had crit D3 on the one I replaced or moved, so there we go. And Okay. And then we want to put in here. I'm going to leave that blank so that he knows that's going to be the Nausicaan. Okay. Are the Nausicaan ones available on SEO Academy yet? I don't think so. Let's see.
I haven't seen those yet. That's not to say they're not there.
Nope. They're not there. They're not even available in the search. So leave it blank and leave a note. Okay. There we go. Make sure the blank weapon slot is for the Nausicaan disruptor. Okay. So we also have the Iconian 4-piece set, which of course is standard meta for DPS. Not bad. Alright, so let's take a look at these engineering consoles. What do we think offhand? Yeah,
I'm thinking pull the assimilated module out.
yeah,
See, now, whenever I look at a ship that's got 4 engineering or 5 engineering slots, I tend to ignore them for engineering and throw my universal crit enhancing and power stuff in there. So yeah, good. He's got his plasmonic leech. He's got his his tachykinetic converter. As Steve said, I would use that simulated module elsewhere, like my bank.
yeah,
And I would, if I could, and I had the lobby for it, or if I've got it available, bone neural infusion circuits. The
yeah,
difference between that little boost in crit severity versus that massive boost, that little boost in crit chance versus the massive boost in crit severity, it's a no-brainer. I would also
yeah.
swap out that console. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, but that's expensive. RCS EPS. Boost that EPS to get that transfer rate up to give your weapons more power. And for anyone that says it's expensive, get yourself to level 15 and you will be able to make one. It won't
Well,
be your first, it won't be your second, it won't be your 50th or your 75, but you can still get it using moderate resources in the game and time.
this is
So
true.
if you've got the time to do it, you can get it.
You can. How about in the meantime, though, for immediate results, we take out the assimilated module and simply put in a regular EPS console.
I'll do it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean,
Yeah,
best case scenario is what Ed was describing: RCS, conductive RCS with EPS, and then
right.
buy on our own version, and that would
Infusion circuits, right.
yeah that
Yeah.
would set the engineering consoles.
But
But
yeah,
since
as
his
we know,
resources
it's a
are
budget.
since his resources are limited, EPS flow regulator doesn't cost really anything
Right.
to upgrade.
Well, not only that, you can craft it at Mark II yourself,
Yeah,
very rare. And if you upgrade it from there, you've got a good chance of having an epic one if you do it right by Mark 7. And then it's a bit of dilithium to get it to Mark 14, and you've got a
Yeah.
100% transfer rate on it.
And
Great for any build.
the thing with consoles like this, just a normal um, EPS flow regulator, they don't cost a lot to upgrade. The Lobby consoles can cost a bit to upgrade. The rep consoles can cost a bit to upgrade. The EPS flow regulator, the conductive RCS can cost a bit to upgrade. But the regular EPS flow regulator is very cheap compared to most other things to upgrade. So getting it to 14 epic isn't too much of an issue. I mean, I've got some floating around in my various inventories that he could have that are, you know, various states, Mark 12 green,
Yeah.
that are various marks and rarities that he can have to start one if he needs it. So yeah, so we can get him started with that.
Yeah,
But
that's a very good
definitely, yeah.
base loadout for damage if you want to drop that into the thing
Yeah.
there for us.
Yep, already got it while we was talking.
Awesome.
All right, so then we're going to take out one of the science consoles. Definitely for the other
One,
two.
sorry to interrupt you here,
Go
Kirby.
ahead.
One thing I've noticed, I've looked ahead and I've looked at his skills, and he's using a gravity well. Now I can see why he's gone for the control consoles here,
Mm-hmm.
but when you look at the difference in obviously he wants to pull figures, he wants to go up the DPS charts. So you've got to look at how many targets he's affecting by Gravwell and what his DPS is versus, I'm sorry to say it, feedback pulse.
Yeah.
I would switch him to part gen consoles, EPG, in
Well,
preparation for
Okay.
changing his skills to feedback pulse
I mean, I
if he wants
understand why
DPS.
he went with the control. It was because he wanted to use that grav well and suck in as much as possible and then hit him with a torpedo
Yeah,
and do
Mm-hmm.
massive damage that way. I see
but
feedback pulls from Ed's point, but I could also see just keeping the grav well in there and just changing
Yeah.
one of those consoles that's left to EPG, having an
I
EPG and a
think it.
control.
Yeah. I think it comes down to playstyle, and the real question is, does he want to be pulling threat and play that way? And one of the things I know Gunder likes to do is, like Steve was saying, pull in the things and blast them with a torp. It's what
yeah,
he
but we
likes to
can.
do.
This is the thing. What I'm looking at here is you can get a reasonable amount of base control if we do the skills right.
You
But
can
we can knock back on those constant damage
make him
output of the
EPG so
Gravwell.
that it does more
Yeah,
damage. Yeah, I can see
that's what I
that.
look,
That's fine.
because we know there's that cap on the control
Yes,
side of things.
there is. You are
But
absolutely
and
correct. There
the
is.
the other thing to also remember is what we know about how Gravwell works and from how control interacts with it. When you have certain levels of skills, the distance points you have, greater pull you have from a greater distance, and it caps out to a distance just beyond 12, 14, 12 kilometers. Now, even if you've only got, say, like a less than 100 in that skill, you're still going to have a reasonable pull distance. When you're in an ISA, the distance between the gate and the transformer, you're only looking at something like 14k, 15k. It's not that great. So anything you do target, if it is, they come in clusters.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you don't need that amount of control if you're going purely for numbers in ISA. If you're taking your build into CCA and you're doing other maps, then yes, you will
Yeah.
need more control. But it depends where he wants to get his figures from. Which path is he going? Is he going down the CCA route or the ISA route, or does he want to do both?
Very, very true. So,
I mean, I could see either way. Going with the grav well to pull everything in and throwing a big old torp spread out there, or even sticking with feedback pulse and timing it at the right time.
Yep.
okay. So I did note. There we go. Period. I did note that the we are taking off one psi console, and that is for the Nausicaan energy siphon. Unfortunately, unavoidable. But the other thing I'm going to note here and discuss is that getting these consoles up to Mark 14 Epic cannot overstate it enough. Huge, huge difference
Very huge.
between, yeah, even between Mark 14 Ultra Rare and Mark 14 Epic. Huge difference in the DPS output of these. So if you're going for pure numbers, trying to improve your numbers, definitely upgrading these consoles. Not a bad way to go about it for a first, for a first shot. That's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. And again, these consoles are surprisingly cheap to upgrade. So definitely, I mean, I did a full set, 5 of them, from the Mark 10 to Mark 14 Epic, all of them with less than 100K dill. So they are, surprisingly cheap to upgrade.
You'll find that with
Yeah,
all the fleet consoles, though.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
even the Mark 12 locators from the Spire, they
Hmm.
don't cost a lot. I find that the max they tend to go to is 16%, 17%. You might get the
Yeah,
occasional one that will tip over 20, and you'll be cursing at it. But if you're upgrading a set 5, you can do it between 100 and 100,000K easy.
yeah, yes, definitely. But I would say at the very least, just getting them up to Mark 14 is going to be very helpful. Even if you keep them at ultra rare, just getting them up to 14 is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, to any player out there who is looking at this and going, oh, but 110K dilithium is a lot of deal. Yes, it is a lot of deal, and I can remember when they first launched the upgrading, and deal wasn't as available as it is in the game today. And you would have
Hmm.
to sit and wait every day to refine your 8,000 deal if you weren't running multiple tunes just to get that, and it would take you a good week to actually refine your dilithium to upgrade that item.
Yeah, yep.
Much easier now.
It is much easier now, especially if you have multiple tunes, which I know there are a lot of people that don't. But even if you're running just a single tune, getting the 8K max a day, it's still only going to take you to get 110K. You're looking at 2 weeks, which may seem like a long time, but it is in the long run. If you're looking to improve your DPS, that is worth it. You know,
I mean, the thing to remember is that the characters that some of us are playing are thousands of hours old for the time that we've had to put in to
right?
get the items, and you get in or you get out what you put in.
And the other thing to
And this
remember
is why
though,
it's good to have the multiple tunes.
right? The other thing to remember though is gear is only one leg, for example, of the DPS triangle. Yes, good gear helps, but it will only get you so far. One of the bigger foundations is, and this is a nice segue, is your bridge officer layout. That's a really foundational leg of that DPS triangle. Here, and this one is, believe it or not, the bridge officer layout can be more important than the gear you have. If you've got a good strong layout, it's going to make up for some of your, lower level gear and other things. Would anybody disagree with that?
Oh, I
Really?
mean, a good BOF seating and structure is kind of what depends on what ship I fly. It's
Yeah.
if it's got something I don't like, then I'm not going to use it. I think this has a really good setup. Wish I had this ship.
To be quite honest, I have been in matches and I have viewed players' characters on Gateway. And when you look at their current ship build and you see that they're running an all beam build and they've got no trait set for, well, I don't know whether they have got the trait set for the cannon scatter volley, but they're using the cannon scatter volley as a skill. And
Mm,
I think there is the one that when you use scatter volley it affects torpedoes, but they've got no torpedoes on the build. Little things like that.
yeah. Got to make sure that everything that you're using affects something that you have on the build. There are some builds that will seemingly use something disconnected. There is a reason for it, but it's a much higher meta reason for that kind of thing, or much higher thinking reason for that kind of thing, which we're not going to get into right now, actually. But what we will get into is the bridge officer seating here on this. And so this has a
For
lieutenant
the love of
commander
God, get rid of
tactical.
that.
Lieutenant commander tactical. Yeah.
No, the, the subsystem targeting. Make it go
Yeah,
away.
I know. So the subsystem targeting, to be honest, if you're going for maximum DPS, this is not good. You don't want to use
Now,
it.
one
Good.
of the things that I unfortunately find limiting about this ship, the
Yes.
number of bridge officer seats.
4. Yeah.
Yes,
But
and yeah,
it's all
that,
lieutenant commander or above.
I
So
know, but
This
I
is
still
true.
find it limiting.
Yeah, I mean, you can still do some nice things with it, but I agree it is kind of limiting. So, but let's dig in. So, the first thing I notice and desperately want to point out here, and we see this on a lot of builds, guys, the 3 energy weapon modifiers.
no, no.
We've
Four if
got,
you count the
yeah,
subsystem.
4 if you
Yeah,
count the subsystem, but I'm not counting that.
yeah. Nobody counts
So,
subsystems.
yeah. So, we got the beam fire at will, the beam fire at will 2, and the beam overload 1.
I'll
Now,
tell you what, Kirby.
go ahead.
I know you might come to it later, but if you want to put chemosite laced weaponry into this build at any level, I will supply it.
Awesome.
So
That's
we save money
definitely
there.
a doable thing, yeah. And very generous of you. I was going to say I could supply it as well. Okay. But, so here's the thing with the 3 energy weapon modifiers. So you think, okay, he's got 2 fire at wills. Great, wonderful. You guys recommend this. So what's wrong with having a beam overload 1? Well, okay, so if he's using his beam fire at wills as we recommend, as soon as one goes into, as soon as it comes off a cooldown, he's hitting it, and the other one goes into a shared cooldown. As soon as that comes off, he hits it, and you have the maximum uptime of beam fire at wills. Well, the one thing you forget is beam fire at will puts beam overload into cooldown. So when are you ever going to get the chance to use your beam overload? I'll tell you when. Never. So
When your
why
beams
do you
have the
have it?
overproc on them.
Exactly. If you
The
absolutely insist on having an overload, put an overproc on your beams. Go ahead.
the other thing as well with beam overload, especially when you're going for DPS, have a look at the pass and have a look at the ratio of your fire at will to your normal beam firing. The damage passes will show you what damage you're actually doing with each of the skills, and then have a look at the damage you're doing with beam overload, and you'll see that it's phenomenal. Mainly because with fire at will, you're just hitting targets left, right, and center. You're doing that damage over the duration of the entire fire at will. That extra couple of shots can be 70, 80k over the 10 seconds, over the 20 seconds, a lot more. But that beam overload will only go once, maybe twice if you're lucky. If you've got certain other traits and things running, you will get the secondary one.
Yeah.
So, that will hit sometimes 30k, 40k, 50k. You might be lucky to get 120, 30k hit with it. But doing that once every 40 seconds, compared to what your fire at will's doing, that's why at the moment fire at will is king. It's just the raw amount of hits that it does.
Exactly. It's a huge amount of hits. It's hitting multiple targets.
And
Go ahead.
fire at will's been king for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I can see if he wants to go into PvP, then yes, maybe he would use.
Right. So what I would recommend for that is then have 2 loadouts, have, beam overload 3 trained on both of these buffs, and then when you know you're going into PvP, switch them out.
I would actually also possibly suggest the entire V is doing a PvP if he wants to because I don't know whether he wants to do or PVA surgical strike in there.
That's another option. Definitely.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, again, if you're gonna do PvE, I would recommend, or PvP, I would recommend having a different loadout because PvP and PvE are very different and they do require different loadouts. They do.
I think for the context of this, though, we'll go down the PvE road because he wants.
Yeah.
Yes, he's going to be passing.
Because he wants to improve his
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah, that's what he came to us with. All right. So first thing I would say, Fire at Will 3, awesome. I would put Fire at Will 3 in the other Lieutenant Commander. Tactical. So we even it out. Yes, you have thoughts?
Well, I know you guys said you would help out with Chemosite.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think there was some way to help, maybe getting a couple duty officers to cool down those beam special weapons attacks. Then we'd only have to put one Fire at Will 3 in there.
This is true.
And then he could go with a Torp Spread 3.
The other thing as well is if they're not, I recommend going to his fleet and getting SROs if he hasn't got the superior Romulan operatives.
Yeah.
They're available from a fleet embassy, and they'll give you a bonus to your crit chance of crit severity.
This is true.
So the way I was looking at it as I went a little bit ahead and I added 2 energy weapon officers to cool down beam special weapons attacks. So on the attack intel, I put Chemosite 1, OSS 2, Beam Firewall 3, and then his other tactical was Attack Team 1, a Beta 1, and a Torp Spread 3.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. I quite like the sound of that. Torp Spread 3.
I do. So how are you cooling down the TAC team?
With a con officer.
So 1 con officer, okay.
Yeah.
That's 1 con officer. And how many beam special beam officers?
Just 2.
Just 2, which is enough.
Yeah.
In my own testing with my temporal agent, that is enough.
I mean, the only downside to that is for resource-wise, for KDF tunes, they're running between 22 and 28 million EC for those duty officers.
Okay.
Ooh.
Little spendy.
I can give him at least 1 of those. But yeah.
But it would, I mean, if there was a way to do that, it would literally be taking advantage of every possible thing that you would really want to do with this build.
It would be, yes. It would be, but as we said, it is a bit spendy. So the idea here, folks, is that we're, instead of doubling up on the Fire at Will 3, we're looking at ways to cool it down so that you get a virtual second copy. So that basically it gets down to global, the global shared cooldown without having a second copy. And so we're looking at duty officers to do that, which is possible. Now, if you're not going to have the duty officers to do that, you would have to have 2 copies of Fire at Will. Okay, so you're saying...
I was going to say there is a way of doing it without the duty officers, and that is to use Krenum bridge officers, but you do lose the SRO bonus.
You
so
do.
You will take a dip in your crit severity and your crit chance.
Yeah, and even those can get bendy resource-wise.
Oh, they're not cheap from the fleet. They are quite a huge chunk of resource.
Right. Okay, and so you were saying for the intel you said OSS?
OSS for the lieutenant.
Okay.
Chemosite for the ensign, and then Fire at Will 3 for the lieutenant commander.
Okay. Now, so the idea here is to give a debuff for the Chemosite, to give a nice boost to weapons with the override subsystem safeties, and of course the nice boost with the Fire at Will 3. So then we got Torp Spread 3 for that nice lovely Torp he's going to have. And then what was your lieutenant?
Beta.
Of course. So Beta 1 and then
TAC team.
TAC Team 1. Okay. Got it. Okay. I can see that. And again, remember, folks, this is contingent on having ways to cool down some of these. So basically, you would toggle using the chemosite and the beta so that something gets a debuff every time it's hit. So that the firewall gets a debuff every time. And then the TAC team is going to be cooled down by con officers, which are relatively cheap. And then the fire at will is going to be cooled down by bridge office or by duty officers, which are not so cheap.
Well, they're a
If
lot cheaper than they used to be.
They are very true.
And they're a lot more EC on a fit tune.
They are. Now the other alternative, if you absolutely cannot afford the officers, take off the torp spread 3 and put another fire at will 3 there, and then instead of chemosite, put a torp spread 1. That would be the other alternative. Because the torp spread would be for 1 torpedo. So I would say that would be a reasonable alternative there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you absolutely cannot afford the bridge officers, swap the torp spread 3 for a fire at will 3 and put a torp spread 1 instead of the chemosite. Okay? Alright, so, and we're saying this to give you alternatives. Alright. The engineering temporal op. Whew.
Recursive sharing, Commander.
He got to it before I could. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that too. Alright.
That's not even negotiable.
If you have a commander slot, I would definitely go for recursive shearing 3. It does not depend on EPG. It does depend on you and your team. Whoops, that was 2. I need 3. Dang it. 3. There we go. It definitely depends on your team doing some damage, but the higher recursive shearing you got, the more that's gonna, the more damage that's gonna do when it does proc. So that's always a good thing to have.
And then a quick public service announcement on that. When you're using that ability, and let's say ISA, use it on the TAC cube, on the gate.
Yeah.
Use it on the large transformers. Don't use it on the spheres.
Yeah, exactly. You want to use this on big targets that are going to at least live the 5 seconds that this takes to proc. You want a time when you put it on the transformers because those heal up again. Remember, it takes a snapshot of the health when you put it on. Takes a snapshot of the health when the 5 seconds are up. So you want that to be pretty different. So once you see the health consistently falling on that transformer, that's when you nail it with the recursive shearing. Don't nail it with it while the generators are still up, because then you're not going to get crap out of it. Okay? Just saying. Don't make that mistake. Same thing with the gate. Make sure both transformers are dead before you put it on it. And with the cube, make sure you put it on when it's at about 80% health. That way you're going to get the most out of it. Alright, with the TAC cube. Okay. So now we have 3 engineering slots left. I say we leave the engineering team 1. I don't see a problem with that.
I think maybe an extra heal in there and do an Ox to Sif and the lieutenant.
Here's the thing that I notice. There's no emergency power to weapon.
Lieutenant Commander.
We could put a Lieutenant Commander, emergency power to weapons 3. What do you think of the duty officers to cool it down? How expensive are those right now?
Damage control.
Damage control engineers. expensive are those? And of course, I would put, yeah, we can put definitely a auxiliary to structural integrity field or aux to SIF in the lieutenant spot. That gives him a nice extra heal plus a resistance buff, which is always a good thing. Alright, so while Steve's checking on that, we can leave the engineering team 1. And if you can't find, or if they're too expensive to get, you can always put, if you really need the fast heal that aux to structural integrity gives, because it is a 15-second recharge, you could trade the engineering team 1 for a emergency power to weapons 1 to keep a global cooldown. If you find you need the what the engineering team offers more, which is a bit of a stronger heal with a repair of downed subsystems, then you can switch out for the aux to structural integrity for an emergency power to weapons 2. So there are options here even with this. Alright, any thoughts, Ed?
No, I'm
You've
happy
been
with that.
quiet. Yeah, I'm happy with it too. Alright, so Steve's still looking up the price of those hazard control engineers. And then of course I know he wanted to keep the Gravwell, so we've done that. I don't have a problem with that. Hazard emitters is a great debuff. It's also a great, or not a great debuff, it's a great cleanse for you when debuffs get put on you. Things like the plasma proc from the Borg weapons, or, torpedoes, things like that.
All right,
Awesome, awesome. Go ahead.
the damage controls are running from about 5 million all the
Okay.
way up to like 75 million. So
Okay.
it shouldn't be too difficult.
So it shouldn't be too difficult to get. You'd need to get 3 to get it down to global. Okay. So it shouldn't be too difficult to get at least 2. You'd get close to global. 3 would get you to global on a regular basis. So we'd go with 3 if possible to get. And then of course I would put, we did take away his shield heal. He had reverse shield polarity.
Yeah.
So we did take that away. So I would change the polarized hull to...
One thing to remember here, he
Go
is
ahead.
an engineer.
He is.
So we do have available things like
Miracle Worker,
Miracle Worker.
the
Rotate
Nadeon as
shield.
well.
Yeah.
So they come into play, especially with the healing side. So we can take away some of that healing. So I was just explaining
Yeah.
to people why we were taking it away.
Yep, exactly. And so I would put a science team there. It's another nice little cleanse for some things, and definitely it's a decent shield heal. So, all right.
Now, on his science ability, did we have consensus on the Gravwell or
Yeah.
Pulse?
I mean, again,
I
know,
think feedback pulse will
Go
do
ahead.
more damage. Just from experience in an ISA.
If you're pulling threat, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, either
And
way, he needs to make both of those science plasma consoles EG, and then he can pretty much just decide, do I want to run a Gravwell or a feedback pulse too? Because
I mean, what mods do we have on our consoles? Science.
We change it to EPG.
Yeah, no, I mean as in nullifier or amplifier.
Oh, let me double check.
At the moment, he's using nullifiers, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's using. I didn't change the type. He's using nullifiers.
So if he's gonna do a Gravwell, go. You know what? No, I would just go amplifier either way. That way, he's got the ability to switch between Gravwell and feedback pulse, and Not going to really affect it.
It's a thought.
Pull some
It is
thread.
gonna, yeah, it is gonna pull some thread, which, well, he is an engineer. We did give him a couple of extra heal. We did give him one extra heal anyway. And he is gonna be killing things a bit faster now. Alright, let me go back. And I'll change these to amplifiers. What?
As you're told.
Oh, be quiet. Gee.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the point at which Just Steve gets slapped.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I believe he enjoys it. Although that's on our show after 9 p.m. tonight.
Yeah.
And all that.
What, Utopia Planitia After Dark?
Yep, something like that.
That show sounds terrible.
Okay. Let's search. No. Okay. And of course, it's being a pain in the butt. Okay. Well, let's see. If I do it that way, if I do it with any modifier, I can go and change it later. And yes, you're learning how the ins and outs of using the using the STO Academy build amplifier copy build tool. There we go. Okay, so now we've got two amplifiers, and now, as we said, he has the choice between easily switching between gravity well and feedback pulse. Alright, and then for duty officers, we had said, okay, so we had said,
Energy weapon officers. Charging beam special attacks.
Yes.
Energy weapon officers, and we have beam. Chance to reduce the time to recharge when using beam special attack. We want the very rare because that gives you a 50% chance, which is why you can get away with only two. Energy weapons officers, beam special attacks, rarity very rare. Okay. We want two of those. We wanted one con officer, correct?
For the tech team.
Yes. Recharge time reduced for tactical team and buff. We want that at very rare. Alright, and then we want three of the
Damage control engineers.
damage control engineer.
You know, what we can also do here to increase
Yes.
the DPS is we're using those 3 slots just to cool down the emergency powered weapons, really, aren't we? Bring it to global.
Yes.
Is there any chance of slots? I mean, can we put in a second emergency powered weapons anywhere? Because if we have just even Krenim officers, we can make room to put in another officer that might be able to increase damage on a skill somewhere.
We
Still get the
could,
same effect and not lose out.
or we could put in batteries with the
Torosec or
with it.
Exocom.
Yeah,
Nice little
we could.
boost.
It is a nice little bit.
I
Well,
mean, you could also run 2 damage
good.
control engineers and throw in, a battery DOff.
And throw in an Exocom. We
I mean,
could.
the thing is, I mean, I'm running a build at the moment that's got no cooldown on the engineering. I do double up on the emergency powder weapons. I bit the bullet there, and I went down the Torosec road, and I'm still getting some really nice figures.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing with having emergency powered weapons up all the time is, first of all, it gives a big boost to your weapons power. But second, it does give a overall damage buff. So if you have 2 copies, or you can get it down to that 30-second global, you have 100% uptime, which is why it's as important as we can. It's pretty important to get it up 100% of the time because it gives a very good buff. So if you're looking for DPS, that's one of the ways that you can get, or that you can improve your DPS, is to get things like emergency powered weapons up to where you have it 100% uptime. Alright, so I mean, we could take off either engineering team or Ox to Sif and put in a second emergency powered weapons. If we're gonna take off one, I'd probably take off the engineering team because it has the longer cooldown.
Cooldown's a lot longer.
Yeah. We could do that and then change the damage control to
Anything else?
something else. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, we could do that. Emergency power weapons 1.
Again, the thing to remember here, he is an engineer, so we can get away with that. But I mean, a really good pilot would not need heals and resistance as much. But a lower level pilot still needs them.
We don't know the level of the ability, if you know what I mean, with piloting.
Yeah, this is true. Someone who's still learning piloting needs a bit of heals and resistance.
Well, and it all comes back down to that science ability. Do we want to do Gravwell or do we want to do feedback pulse? If you're going to take a heal away, you should probably make your science consoles nullifiers and not use a feedback pulse.
This is true.
You'll have more survivability because you won't be pulling a ton of threat. But at the same time, his DPS will come down a little bit because he's not using.
However,
I mean, you could still run feedback pulse with nullifiers, with the right group and still pull quite a bit of threat.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, Gravwell itself will pull a lot of threat.
Yeah. It will.
Because it really counts as 0 distance.
It does. So Gravel itself will pull a lot of threat, which is why I'm thinking leaving, if we're gonna take away the heal, leave the Ox to Sif and put emergency power to weapons 1.
Yeah.
Because then he has a heal every 15 seconds versus having heal every 30 seconds. Faster uptime, so. I mean, that's what I'm thinking anyway. Conversation, people.
Yeah, if we do that.
No, I agree.
I mean, then with the duty officers, still keep the 2 energy weapon officers for the special attacks. still keep the con officer to cool down TAC team. And then a maintenance engineer, for batteries. Maybe a development lab scientist for the feedback pulse, if we're doing that still.
What, with the debuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if you go down that road, you can put him on, but
yeah, if you go down the road. And then maybe a projectile weapon officer to recharge his torpedo a little faster.
or someone like Law from Nimbus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the maintenance engineer, every Fed, KDF, whatnot, gets one free on junior officer during junior officer events. You'll get one free if you haven't already picked it up. So that's not an extra cost. Sorry, I missed the second one.
The second one was if
Fabrication
we're doing
engineer.
Fabrication.
No, sorry.
no
Deflector officer. Sorry, I was looking at fabrication engineer.
Deflector.
Roster.
Well, depending on what we're doing. Are we doing feedback pulse or doing gravity well? If we're doing feedback pulse, then you want to use a development lab scientist to add the resistance debuff to feedback pulse. And if you go with a grav well,
if we go with a deflector officer, it would generally cool down. It would cool down both, either one, depending on how you go.
oh, so to cool it down to get it to activate more often. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I go with that.
And then it wouldn't matter which one
I was thinking more along the lines of actual debuffing, but yeah, I mean, if we want to recharge that'll work.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want to pull some decent figures out of feedback pulse or even gravity well, you need because they do have a reasonably long cooldown.
Yeah,
it's good to bring that down, and then that officer does bring it down quite a bit. And this is the one thing where I would say go and get the Krenum Science Bridge Officer, because if I've got a feeling, we haven't done the skills tree yet, but it's good to have that extra cooldown, especially on top of that. You will get a nice little chunk off your exam. It's exactly what I'm saving for at the moment. One thing I will say, and this is a general warning, that is using the I've noticed this today, and I think it's due to a little bit of interface lag with the UI, that you'll go through the exchange and you'll find the officer you want. Case in point, let's have a look at one of these. So you look at it and it gives you the chance to do to cool down all of your space abilities. You click on it, you buy it, and then you turn out that the screen hasn't refreshed, and what you've actually bought is something that completely different with a completely different ability.
No.
Yeah, so there's just be warned, let the screen just refresh. Make sure that you've got the correct one. Oh, you're with me in the exchange, are you?
Yeah, I just walked up. Okay, so give us an example. What are you looking at?
I was looking at the actual officers that we recommended, ones with the chance.
Deflect.
No, it's like now. I've just looked at. I've hovered over an officer. That had the chance to reduce the cooldown on beam special attacks. I've highlighted it, and it's completely gone, and it's jumped officer, and now I'm looking at Drolid, which has ground abilities and will cost me the same amount of money. For some reason, I don't know whether it's just lag on my end, but yeah, I'm getting a lot of movement around on the screen, and a bit dubious about actually buying another officer.
And another thing, Cryptic, it would be really nice if we could choose to find officers based on their abilities. Just saying. It would be very, very nice.
The other one that'd be very nice, Cryptic, if you ever get the chance it would be able to take an officer from your roster and drag it to that window to search.
Mm.
Because sometimes, especially with colour blindness, we can't read the name properly. Is it an A? Is it an O? No, it's an A.
Mm. Yep. Okay. Let's see if I can find. Okay. And okay. So let's see if I can find one. Okay. Let's see.
And the other thing that might be affecting it was I had it set so as it was only showing officers I could choose.
Yeah.
We've all made
That's
that mistake and
probably
bought a
affecting.
KDF variant.
It's probably affecting it. Okay. Subsystem targeting, yeah. So as you can see, yeah, ooh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and if you're
It's
not watching what you're doing, you will
it's
buy the wrong
taking a
officer.
while. So you notice how it's slowly when I change page, you can see it where it slowly updates and it takes a little while. Yeah, I see what you mean. So if you're really not looking too closely, it's very easy to, yeah. Okay.
And we've all bought the wrong thing, haven't we? 5 threat
Yep.
generating consoles, Kirby.
Oh, shut up. Yes, we've all bought the wrong thing. I know. 5 thread
You're not the only
generating
one that's done
console.
it.
No, I'm not. But it could be a good thing now with the new meta. You
Very
know,
true.
very true. I might have use for them now. Because not only did I buy 5 thread generating consoles when I wanted threat nullifying consoles, I also upgraded them all to Mark 14 Epic before I realized what I'd done. And played an ISA with them. Yes, yes, I
And
know.
wondered why she had all the threat.
Yep. Well, the tank was going, God damn it, why can't I keep the threat? Anyway, yeah, the tank was screaming at me.
And Kirby was whistling nonchalantly over the other side of the map.
I'm
Not
like, I
me.
have no idea. Yeah. Anyway. But anyway, this is not about me. So, have we decided whether we're going to keep Gravwell or change to feedback pulse?
Well, we can throw in whatever we can agree on, and then just
I'd
let them
say
know. You can
leave it
use
as
either one.
Gravwell now, and
Mm-hmm.
he's obviously going to watch this video, so he knows there
Yes.
is the option of feedback pulse there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all it is just a console change
Very true.
from what he's using to EPG, but he can still use
Yeah.
the EPG with the Gravwell, and
He
because
can.
of the distance in that map, as long
And
as we
it's going to
spec him
have
right, he'll
the,
maintain the pull.
I mean, really, he's going to have to do a console change anyway.
Yes.
But, I mean, so if he's keeping the Gravwell threat nullifier.
Yep.
Okay. So, when you hear this, Gonder, if you're keeping the Gravwell, go with nullifier. So I'm going to change them nullifiers, change them back. Jesus Christ, you guys. No, it's not that terrible. I'm going to change it back to nullifiers. And let's.
You do realise when she's not streaming, Kirby sits in the corner rocking, saying all work and no play makes Kirby a dull teacher.
You guys are horrible. I
Oh, I wonder how many people remember that one.
know, right? Okay. So these are EPG, which is, come on, there we go, EPG. Equip item, there we go. Okay, so we put nullifiers. I changed them to amplifiers. Now they're nullifiers. Okay. So, alright, so since we're putting a maintenance engineer in there for batteries, we should recommend some batteries. Alright, so we've got, and of course, I did notice he doesn't have it. We always recommend the, what is it? The
Subspace field modulator.
subspace. Thank you. Sorry, my medication was interfering with my ability to remember.
I'm going to play some slots.
That's what it was.
Always get away blaming Sunspot.
Anyone who doesn't believe me, go ahead and look up the side effects of oxcarbazepine, otherwise known as trileptal. And he's like, God damn it, Kirby. Because he
What
knows
was the word you
I'm
had
right.
problems saying, Kirby?
Clickable ability.
And yet you could say oxcarbazepine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I don't know.
know.
It's... I don't know. I don't know. And it depends on the day, too. It's... yeah. Today's apparently a good day for most things. Alright, so battery. Energy amplifier?
Yep.
Yes, and also the
Exotic.
weapons battery, because you want to get the
Uh-huh.
damage bonus from the maintenance engineer.
Okay, so energy amplifier. These can be crafted with, what is it? Uncommon.
Level 10.
Or green. Yeah, at level 10 you can craft them with green level crafting materials. So they're a good way to empty your your crafting mats of that green level. And let's see, weapons battery large. There we go. Equip item. Okay, so these are both craftable batteries. And so you can craft them, or you can buy them off the exchange if you have the amount of EC it takes to keep up with them. And the other thing I want to note is that the Delta Recruit device is usable if you leave it in your inventory, so you do not need it in your device slot. So if there's something else you would like to put there, you certainly can.
Exotic particle flood?
You could, definitely.
Or reactive armor catalyst?
Is that
Definitely.
not a glitch at the moment?
Well, it's the same thing that the Nukara pilots, or pirates.
Right.
Sorry,
Oh,
have
yeah,
always,
I'm sorry, yes.
have
I was
always worked.
thinking of another one that was a known glitch that people
Yeah.
use, but don't approve of.
No, that might be the that thing for cooling down your abilities you get from your Delta Recruit. See, this is the result of medication, folks. I'm telling you. That I can't remember the name of right now. Let me look it up.
Temple Negotiator.
Thank you.
Go.
Before I could even
Don't
get there.
approve of that glitch,
So
that's
we're
when
not
they
going to
fix
tell
it.
you what it is. Again, I don't even have it slotted on this ship anyway, so.
Relate we've mentioned this name,
Yeah, so I wouldn't have got it.
but not advocating
Anyway,
its use at all.
no.
That method.
Not advocating the glitch. No. And we're not going to tell you what the glitch is, so don't ask. So
The
don't bother
glitch.
asking in the comments. Yeah. The glitch is in my head. No. Anyway.
Well, we know that for years,
Yep.
haven't we?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's public knowledge.
It already is, I'm telling you. All right. All right, shall we move on to the skill tree?
Please do.
All right. So it looks like Gondor forgot to fill out his current skill tree.
Which, as we said earlier on, is
It's
not a bad
okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thank you,
not
Gonder.
necessarily a bad thing because it means we have a blank slate. But, yeah. Okay, so I'm thinking Psi Ultimate.
I'm thinking balanced.
You're thinking balanced. Interesting. What are you thinking, Ed?
I was thinking along the lines of maybe pushing a little bit more into the tax side of things and balancing with science to get the
So you're thinking
best out of
balance as well.
VPG and DPS.
Yeah,
But
I've
yeah,
got a
pushing
setup.
more maybe towards a tack ultimate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've got a setup right now with 16 in engineering, 17 in science, and 13 in tech.
It would give him as a learning pilot, would give him more survivability, which we didn't leave him much in the skills for survivability if we went more balanced. Okay. I
Well, the
can
thing
live
is,
with a
I mean,
balance. Go ahead.
played with quite a few of the different builds in different ways, and all three would work.
Yeah,
So
they would.
I also quite like the idea of the Psi ultimate. Just that being able to lock that crit at 50% is just so nice.
Yeah, and I think it depends on really the piloting level of the person.
Yeah.
So, and I know Gondor is still learning his piloting.
Yeah.
So, we could go with the more balanced and push him a little towards tack. Not quite a tack ultimate, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that might be the better way of
Okay.
doing it.
All right. So, we definitely want to make sure we do the uh, the weapons, the energy weapons. I wouldn't think to do much um in the torpedo. I know he likes to always run a torp, so I
But
would
the thing
think
is,
maybe one.
Yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
thinking one.
well, the thing is, we've suggested the energy torpedo anyway.
True, but I do believe the torp
Yeah, I mean, he'll
projectile
get
weapon
a
train will
bonus
still get a
from it.
bonus. Yeah.
I just think there'd be a better bonus if we put that point elsewhere. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Why don't we
All right,
put it
well,
there for now and then see if we need it later?
Yeah.
yeah.
let's compromise that way. If we
Let's do
need
it
it,
that
we
way,
can
yeah.
take it off of that.
Now, I
Okay.
was thinking 1 point each in shield restoration and hull restoration.
Okay. And then
Thinking
go ahead.
2 points each
2 points
shield
each
and
in
hull
the.
capacity. Your guys' thoughts?
I think we can get away with 1 point in hull capacity
Okay.
because at 10
Yeah.
points in engineering, you're going to get the hull capacity choice, and that's
Okay.
the same as putting an extra point in it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Plus, he's running a big battle cruiser and a pretty
Yeah,
high hull.
very true. Alright. Alright, so Lieutenant Commander.
EPS system and improved. 1 point in each.
Definitely. What do we think about the turn rate?
I
He's-
would like it on that ship.
The impulse expertise, at least 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 1 point
I
in
would
it
be
as well.
happier with 2 if it was available.
Yeah.
Just because I know that ship's going to be horrible to turn.
It is. It is.
Might be
That's why
available.
That's why I wanted to leave his turn rate consoles. Anything that affected turn rate, because I know it's going to be fair to turn. Alright.
Now,
I'd put at least 2 points in control.
yeah.
Yeah.
And drain.
And drain, yeah, definitely. I'm thinking maybe we should put in the point for the debuff for his control targets. If he's keeping the grav well, this will help anything he does while his targets are in the grav well to die a little faster.
So max out the control.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Because the
We'll put
control
1 or 2 points in
amplification, right? Because if you look at the control amplification, and I've actually pulled it up, anytime you cause an enemy to suffer a control effect, that would mean in his case anytime he throws out a grav well, they will temporarily have their damage resistance rating reduced. This effect may only trigger a maximum of once every 5 seconds. The control used on foe, minus 20 all damage resistance rating for 5 seconds. Now it's not clear, I'll be honest, it's not clear whether this means everything pulled into a grav well or just the first target pulled into the
Normally
grav
it would
well.
just be the initial target for that effect.
Yeah.
That's
But
the way I
at
would
least
assume
it's
it'd be working.
something, yeah. But at the very least, it is something. Yeah. And for example, if you use the grav well later in the match on the cube, on the tack cube, that's going to be huge. Minus 20 their resistance. Anyway, yeah, so there's a way you can
And then
use
you
that
throw
to
out
get an
your
extra
recursive
debuff.
shearing.
Yep, exactly. Tactics! There you go. Alright. So, tactical. We know we don't really need accuracy.
No.
How about defense? Defensive maneuvering. I would put at least 1 point.
Yeah, I'd say at least 1 point in there.
Just because that's, yeah. It's a huge ship.
I know it's going back on ourselves, but I was receiving a text message from the Council of Evil. And I missed how many points we put into the actual tactical lieutenant, so I want to match my screen so I know what that.
Okay, the tactical and lieutenant?
Yeah.
We put
4.
3 in energy and 1 in projectile.
Did we put anything in hull restoration?
No, we haven't got to it yet.
Hull restoration,
Or wait, yeah.
we have
We
not.
put,
oh yeah,
1 point.
we put.
Excellent. Brilliant. Okay, we're up to date.
Okay. Damn Council of Evil.
I know.
Alright.
They just wanted me to tell them your address, Kirby, so I willingly
Okay.
told them that they'd have to dig straight down and they'd find you lurking somewhere near the depths of hell. So, yeah, they took their shovels out and started digging.
Okay. I'll tell them they can keep digging. Anyway.
On to the commander.
Yeah.
Should I have Oreo go out and meet him halfway? He loves to dig. Anyway. onto the commander level. So I'm thinking 1 point in hull plating, just so that he
That's
can have a bit more resistance.
I'm thinking 1 point in damage control as well.
Okay, I can live with that. Remember, if you're
Works
gonna
for me.
spend a point, the 1 point or the initial point is the most bang for your buck point you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
And, and
Go ahead.
then I was thinking 2 points in hardness and regeneration on his shields.
So 2 points each. Okay.
Good.
No, I would be. I mean, being as we're not going for the ultimate insight, we're going for a balance, emphasising a little bit on the attack. I'd actually be tempted to put 1 point in the ship.
Yeah, I could see that too. You're right.
Mainly because
But
the
go ahead.
enemy's Borg.
Yeah.
If he's going DPS,
Yeah.
he's going Borg. And I mean, you could have shield gen coming all the way out of your ears, and you'll still have difficulty keeping shields up on players.
So put
Very
1
true.
in regeneration and
Yeah,
2 in
Yeah.
hardness.
yeah, and we can come back if we got a point spare, and we can drop it in there later.
Okay.
I'm thinking one each, actually. Because you were saying 2 in harness. I'm thinking one each. And then that
Yeah.
way, too, we can have the extra points to put into the
Okay.
tack. Because this is.
1 each.
Because we're coming up on the crit chance and crit severity. Which I
Yeah,
think we
which
should
we
max
should
out.
just max both of those.
Yep. It's pretty much what I'm thinking.
Yep. Got it ticked off
Mhm.
on there already.
Yep. Alright, so then I'm thinking for the captain level, we definitely want to put for the for the defensive subsystem tuning, I'm thinking just
Yep.
fill all of that out. Because he
I
wants
was
a bit
thinking
of.
just doing
Good.
auxiliary and not putting a point in the
And not
shield,
putting
but I
shield?
mean, it's completely up to you guys on that one.
Well, higher shield gives a bit more of a bit more capacity.
Okay. I mean, we've got the
Good.
points for it, so
Yeah. And then I was thinking weapons for offensive.
I was
Yep.
thinking more engine weapons
Well, we could take
because
the point out of
he's in a
shield and
big
put
battle
it into
cruiser,
engine.
and
True, we could put the point out of shield and put it into engines instead.
so doing weapons and engines.
One of the
Yeah.
things to look at here is what power setup is actually using on it. What's the power levels? And one of the unfortunate things here that the certain combos you can get away with not using these. So we don't know
True.
whether he's running. Is he going into battle with weapons maxed out, then auxiliary maxed out, relying on the engines and the others to be picked up by a plasmonic leech and supremacy? Or is he balancing the three remaining and having weapons at max?
Well,
Well,
I'm
I
guessing he
know.
doesn't have supremacy.
Some of this
so.
can be a bit difficult
No, he
for us to
doesn't.
actually do.
Well, knowing Gondor, and this is one of the advantages, knowing Gondor he is running weapons max and ox max.
In which case, then I'd probably just go
Yeah.
for shields and engines
Okay.
if he's that sort of player to give
Yeah.
more of a performance boost on those two systems, because we can pick up a boost a little bit further down the way we normally do it by going into the warp core efficiency,
Right.
that bonus across the board.
Yeah.
This is true. But then, because you're going to get that boost anyway,
All right. Well, let's come back to this.
why don't we put it with ox, weapons, and shield and engines for now. And we can come back to it later.
So
Yep.
ox,
Yeah.
weapons and engines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already maxed out long range targeting sensors.
Yeah,
Of
and part
course.
gens.
Yep, that has to be
And
done.
part gens, that has to be done,
Yep.
definitely. And I'm thinking max out the whole pen.
Yep.
Yep.
And I mean, bottom line, you don't really need the shield pen.
No, I
Shields
wouldn't
come
bother with a
down
shield pen
anyway,
either.
yeah.
Yeah. Then Ben and Admiral warp core potential and efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah. We've got 3
Definitely.
points available still.
We put one in readiness for engineering.
Okay. Readiness for engineering. We could put one in there. Definitely, it'll slow down the cooldowns, or it'll, reduce the cooldowns.
That leaves what, 1 point?
Actually, you know what? I would change the engineering. I'd put it into science. I'd actually
Okay.
put. We
Yeah.
have 2 available. I would say put 3 into science. So now it comes down to where we're going to get that last point from. We could go back and take it out of the torp. Like we said,
So you said 2 in science?
I put 3 in science readiness. That comes close as you're going to get from the skill tree to getting things down, to getting it down to global. To get down to global, you need 30% reduction. The skill tree gives you 20%. So, if you put all 3 points into it.
I would say just put 2 points in it and keep that 1 point in projectile training.
What are your thoughts, Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. I can live with that, because if you look at it, with 2 points you're getting 17%. So is the extra 3% of cooldown reduction
Not
worth
worth it.
the 25% bonus on the torp?
I'll go for the torp.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing too is he's not using the Psi ultimate, and he doesn't have a ton of Psi abilities, so
This is true.
don't need a lot of
Well, we
cooldown for
pushed
it.
more towards Psi for this. We did get
Well,
pretty
it's the,
balanced.
well, I mean, it's
But
still
yeah,
balanced. I mean, science has a lot of things that can
But
pretty much
that
go in
are,
any
yeah.
build.
But if you think about it, if you were to take the 3 points out of long range targeting sensor, I mean, because that in itself ultimately not only applies to
Yeah.
the firing off your science skills, but also all of your attack skills. You could easily count those as being technically tactical skills.
This
Yeah.
is true.
Like,
You
you know,
could.
because of the damage boost that it does, you've then got 14 across the board, 21 in total. Add those 3 on to top it up. So yeah, it's balanced.
All right.
Yeah.
There's 17, it's 18.
All right.
Now, I do want to go back to the engineering captain.
Okay.
I think that weapons, that point should be taken out of there and put it into shields. Because he's already
Out of
going to
weapon.
have his power boost all the way up for his weapons. You know, he's got the leech. He's running override subsystem safety. So, I mean, I don't know.
Your
I
thoughts, Ed?
just, I never run that on pretty much any of my builds. So,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm sort of in agreement, really. I mean, with the actually running override subsystem safeties, are you going to need it?
That's a
I
good
will
point.
admit, override does have a long cooldown though, so when you look at the downtime, you are still getting a bonus from having the skill
But
there.
then he also has emergency power to weapons. 2 copies, so
Yeah,
he's got 100% uptime there.
yeah. So yeah,
And he's
get rid of
got the
it.
plasmonic leech, so that's a good
Yeah,
point.
no.
And the shields are going to be a lower.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I mean, I have run builds where I've put no points in there at all.
Yeah.
I mean, my current one, the remon that I'm running on, admittedly, is I'm literally just got offensive such nothing
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
underneath it. I'm running nothing in there at all. And yeah, I've gone down the nullifier road on this one to reduce threat. And to make up for it, I've just gone to warp core efficiency.
That's very true.
So yeah, and
That
that'll
warp
free
core
up a lot of
efficiency is
points, which you can.
powerful.
Yeah,
That warp core efficiency, and what you need to remember is that when it says set below 75, it means do you set it at 15, 20, 25, what power do you set it at, not what you have after all your boosts. Okay? So if you set your shields and your engines at 15, as most DPSers do, then you're going to get plus 10 to your subsystem power. Whatever that ends up at after all your boosts. Okay? Based on if you set it at 15. So you're going to get plus 10 to the subsystem power just from warp core efficiency. You're going to get another plus 5 from warp core potential and improved warp core potential here. Plus you're going to get another plus 8 from your offensive tuning or defensive tuning and plus shields, and another 8 from your defensive tuning plus engines. So you're talking about a total of 23 plus the 15, that's a pretty good boost right there.
Wake up.
On those things. So, I mean, just looking at that, that's a pretty good boost already. Plus the plasmonic leech, you're going to be over 75 on that when you're in battle.
so yeah, this is what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
can knock back on some of those other
On the
boosts.
weapons and the
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
case in point. I mean, as I said to you, I'm only running the offensive, I'm not running any other subs or any of the other
Right.
defensives. And I'm sat in a space dot now on my character, hovered over my engines, they're set at 30, the actual power is 60.
Yeah. And that's what you
And
remember, you have a lot of boosts.
Yeah, and that's just coming from the bonuses that you can pick up in game. The only thing that I've spent time on this character is just getting ships and crates to enhance DPS. But nothing that's going to actually boost that. That's all from skills and from components that you can pick up in game.
Alright, so the skill unlocks. Engineering. We definitely want battery expertise.
Yes.
Because he's going to be running batteries. Yes. So this basically it doubles the duration of your batteries. So if they normally run 10 seconds, they will now run 20. Etc., etc. Alright, so we definitely want maximum hull repair. Subsystem repair, really not worth it. Especially if you're running the Iconian set, you're not going to see any difference at all. Okay, and now we can choose engine subsystem power or shield subsystem power. We get plus 2 into the subsystem directly. So I would choose engine on this because he's a nice big carrier, yeah. Or not a carrier, but he's a nice big...
Even on a small ship, I go engines as well. Because it adds to maneuverability, which increases your defense.
This is true. Alright, so that's the engineering unlocks. So science unlocks. Let's take a look. I would do, well, really the first one, sector space and transwarp cooldowns, depends on how you play. Personally, I transwarp everywhere, so I would choose transwarp cooldowns. Some people
I
like to fly
everywhere.
So yeah, I'd like to fly everyone, so you choose sector space.
And there is another reason for choosing sector space, and that is if you're an owner of a Vesta class or the SAT. that little bonus that you get from that is enough if you've got all the skill boosts and everything else to get your Vesta to transport 60 better.
Yeah. The other reason is
Right.
if you run the Tour of the Galaxy, this is going to help speed you up. So I'm going to go ahead and choose sector space, travel speed, just because it really matters on your playstyle, but I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Okay, so we got maximum shield capacity, starship stealth, shield capacity every time, stealth.
Mm.
Unless you're playing PvP, stealth is completely useless for PvE. Alright, starship perception or control resistance. Control resistance, again, unless you're doing PvP. Okay, and that's all we have available.
Going back to your little point about
Yeah.
stealth being useless. One thing to
Yas.
remember is for those people in cloaked ships that like to fly in and get into position or doing a paid ISA run to get onto the leaderboards. Sometimes the board can see your cloaked ship and you will trigger that map early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But just watch out for that one, guys.
Alright, so threat control or hangar weaponry. Threat control every time. Alright.
Even if you've got pets, threat control.
Yep. Because that's going to allow you, especially if you're running feedback pulse, to gain a little extra threat. Because it's plus 100 additional threat generation. Okay. So, definitely helpful. I assume that was Steve leaving for a moment.
I imagine so.
Since he said he'd be right back. No. Oh, it was a different. Sorry. Was a different TeamSpeak that said user left your channel. Never mind.
Alright, sorry about
Okay. It's okay. I got even more confused when a TeamSpeak said user left your channel.
that.
It was on a different TeamSpeak. Confused it too. Alright. So we got projectile crit chance, projectile crit damage. I usually go crit damage because we found that that seems to be more impactful for torpedoes. Shouldn't always be, but it is. So I go with crit damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all we have for attack. Alrighty. And there we go. Alright, so ground. What's our mantra for ground?
Top left, bottom right, carry a hypo.
Carry a hypo. Good, Steve. Alright, and then of course, bridge officer training. I'm not even going to get into that. Okay.
And since he is on a KDF, he should carry a triple just so it gets pissed off at him.
Steve. Yes, you too can have a triple get pissed off at you. Alright. So he didn't put his specialization either. So we're going to have to make some assumptions. So we can go with meta. Yeah. Go ahead.
We would seriously recommend the meta for this. Intel strategist.
Intel strategist. The meta is actually temporal strategist.
I know,
days.
but I'll go Intel. Yeah, but I'll go Intel strategist on that.
If he was running a side build, I would go temporal, but
he's not. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly because of it's just got those little added bonus defenses. Things like hide my weakness.
True.
And that, and he is a slow ship.
Very true. Very true.
But when it comes to metas in the game, there are several different metas at the same time. That's the problem.
There are, yeah.
That is part of the problem. Running.
You're right. That is. There are good reasons for running Intel over temporal. There are sometimes, I mean, if you're running a torpedo boat, you might want to consider command over temporal, or even Intel. So it kind of, it comes down to what kind of boat are you flying, and we're putting together a beam boat for Gondor here, so but it is a nice heavy cruiser there, D-7 cruiser. So I mean, I do agree, Intel and combined with strategist, even though he's not going to be using the usually threatening, not using threatening stance. Oh my gosh, get it out. He's not going to be using threatening stance most of the time for the build we've made him, but he will get a little bit of extra damage buff from that tree. So that is a good thing to run there. All right, and traits.
Traits.
Yep, he didn't put any traits. All
Well, we
right.
should go through and knock out all the free ones.
Yes, definitely. Since he's using the torp, I would say projectile training.
Yes.
Training.
Projectile training, and then since he's using beams, I would say beam training.
Beam barrage.
He could definitely do beam barrage. All
I mean,
right.
for survivability, if he's got the funds, there are things like the ablative shell.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The price of them at the moment is quite cheap.
Fleet coordinator.
Yep, that's a good free one.
Fleet coordinator. All right. What else we got?
I mean, maybe also drop in. I mean, he's an engineer. If he's got it, he should have grace under fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll improve with his. I would also potentially. I mean, have we suggested beam training?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drop that in there, and probably the operative trait.
I would say definitely point blank shot.
Yep.
It's free. You run a mission for it. So.
Yep. He also should have EPS manifold efficiency as well.
Okay.
The batteries will give a secondary boost to all subsystems. So he gets a +10 to all subsystems power for 15 seconds. That's a nice little kick in when he does activate that battery.
EPS manifold. Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
at
so-
1 point.
All right. So I've got projectile training, beam training, beam barrage, ablative shell, fleet coordinator, grace under fire, point blank shot, EPS manifold efficiency, and we have one left.
All right. So
Inspirational
one.
leader. Seriously, again, it is cheap enough.
It is cheap enough. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Well, I mean, there was a couple. Inspirational leader's a great trait. Another one that I was thinking was if he wants to spend a little bit of EC is helmsman.
It is, and for that big heavy cruiser, that's going to be helpful.
Yes, it would actually, thinking about it.
Operative as well. Free trait.
Operative would be free. I think helmsman is going to be more helpful though. I'm going to put in helmsman just because I do agree that's going to be more helpful. It's going to give him a good boost to maneuverability. Alright, so mostly free traits. A couple that he's going to have to spend money on too. But other than that, all free traits. Nice, not bad, guys. Alright.
And then, if he wants to get inspirational leader, he could swap that out for point blank shot or the EPS one that Ed recommended, or even grace under fire. So, I mean, just kind of, if you want to spin the EC for it and monkey with your traits to see what work best, then you have options.
Yeah. I know Gondor has spent a bit getting some of the more sought after starship trade.
I think we've all
I
done that.
do, yeah. Well, I do believe he has all hands on deck and emergency weapon cycle, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Musts.
Must what?
Must haves.
Yeah. I am going to recommend command frequency. And that's simply because you get to call in your fleet support whenever you wish instead of having to wait for your hull to be at 50%. Now you get this, remember, from filling out your command tree. So bonuses for filling that out, even if you're not going to use command. And then, of course, so for the fourth one, what do y'all think?
Well, if you want to go with a free trade, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but critical systems.
Yeah, free trade would be fine. Definitely critical systems is okay.
Yeah, I quite like the sound of that.
Ah, come on. There we go. Alright, any other free trade? Because we've still got a fifth slot here. I don't know if he's unlocked it. I don't remember if he's unlocked it or not. Apparently, speech problems are the side effect du jour.
Well, the fact you're able to say that with using the French, I don't think they are.
Oh, it's. Yeah. It's selective. Anyway, okay. Alright. Any thoughts for that fifth? Could go with something like Best Defense. It's another free trait. Would give him a defense rather than an offense.
Well, they have a trait that comes off the ship, built to last.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
It says after reaching level 5 in your temporal light cruiser, blah blah blah.
The other thing as well. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve. Just had a sudden thought. Does he have the event ship from this year, from the anniversary event? Because if he does go down the feedback pulse route,
Yep.
got the
Yeah.
improved feedback pulse trait there that's free of charge.
I
Sorry,
would
that was
definitely use the feedback
Yeah.
pulse trait if he's got
If
it.
he's going for
Yeah.
the feedback pulse. Right now, he's still got the gravity one.
Yeah, the built to last trait, while this trait slotted, activating a hull healing bridge officer ability will apply weapon power cost reduction and hull regeneration buff. The hull regeneration buff's effectiveness will increase when triggered at low hull strength.
Okay.
So
That's definitely, yeah, I put that in since it comes on the ship anyway.
but
Alright.
yeah, if he's got the anniversary trait, run back pulse trait.
Yeah, if he's running feedback pulse. Right now, we've got that set as grapple. Okay. Space reputation. I'm thinking the standard.
Yep. It seems to work really well.
Which is why it's the standard. So precision gives you 4% crit. 4% crit chance. See, I couldn't figure out which word went next there.
What you need to do, Kirby, is explain it in words greater than 3 syllables, and then you'll be fine.
There you go. Let's see. advanced targeting system, and then of course the
Energy
offensive
refrequencer.
auxiliary power.
Yep.
Yep.
Everyone has
Energy
it in different order.
refrequencer is another good one. And that is that gives you hull heals based on the amount of energy damage you're doing. Now, I'm not sure if the torpedo will count towards this, but should be interesting to test.
It is technically an energy damage, though, isn't
It
it?
is.
Be interesting to find
Ooh.
out.
Testing. Okay.
You guys know if the crystalline torpedo does it?
That's what I was just thinking. I'm not too sure. I
That's
can't
what
remember anyone testing for
that's what
that.
I'm thinking we should test.
Kirby,
Okay.
your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to listen to the torpedo to see whether it works. This evil aid
Testing
swing will
after we're done
self-destruct in 5
recording.
seconds.
Alright,
Boom.
and then of course, if you wish to have your fifth, we got tactical advantage.
Or armor pen?
I'll go for the pen, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
See, the common consensus is that the pen takes the highest amount or the highest thing. Plus, we're doing that the thing that does the extra pen anyway, the extra 50% hull pen with the 3-piece.
You could never have enough penetration.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if he does the tactical advantage, because it gives just a standard debuff.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. That activates
Although,
depending on the hull.
I would admit I do use the extra pen and the tactical.
True. But we don't really have room for it. I don't know what happened to the picture for Nukara for the auxiliary power configuration defense. Or offense, sorry.
Yeah, the icon's gone.
Yeah, the icon's gone. Makes it look like an empty slot. It's not an empty slot.
Bit like that
Okay.
constant empty slot in my Reeman's bank. I don't know what's there. I can't find it. It's annoying, Cryptic. Sort it out.
So we got, of course, for the active rep, we're going to choose our space items. And a neat little trick before you want to hit the grav well that you want to do the most damage. Pop off your Romulan Tier 5 reputation ability. Quantum singularity manipulation. Yes, I had to concentrate for that. Pop that off, and it'll give you plus 100 to all of your science abilities. So that Gravwell will really pop. And then pop off, in addition to that, a anti-time entanglement singularity, and yeah, that'll just chew them up and spit them out.
Upsets them a little bit.
Yes, it does. Just a little bit, but they'll be dead by the time it's done, so who cares if they're upset if they're dead? Anyway.
And then, just as a reference, when you're running an ISA and you're coming up on those mobs of spears and you're going to activate your feedback pulse if you're using that, or if you grab well something, go right by it and activate your refracting Tetrion cascade.
Yep. That definitely helps.
And watch the magic happen.
Yep. It's magic. Okay, why do I suddenly feel the need to sing a song? Anyway. Alright. I won't. Alright,
Drunken
so
Fridays.
This is Standish D7. And I'm going to save. Alright, so we have a link, which I'm going to Open a new tab for now. Alright, so we want to make this searchable. There we go. And so we have Standish D7, and we have your link available. I will save it for you, Mr. Gonder. So, and this is of course now searchable on the Utopia Planitia links. Can't speak tonight. If you're interested in submitting a build, just contact one of the hosts. Our contact information is going to be come up in a page right after this outro, right after we say goodbye to you. Or you could email us at utopiaplanitiashow@gmail.com.
If I don't
All right?
say goodbye, my name don't come up at the end.
It will come up anyway.
Oh, damn.
Ains will come up even though he's cooking those special brownies.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking about special brownies. See what I
No,
did there?
I just know that I don't need the brownie. I've got the special bit already.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Alright. Say goodbye, folks.
Bye, folks.
Goodbye, folks. It was a long
Alright.
episode.
It was a long episode, but I think very informative.
It was
Alright.
a
It's all
very
right.
good teaching tool.
Once
It
you've
was.
edited out all the gaps, it'll only be 10 minutes long. We'll be fine. Got it covered.
Alright. Goodbye, folks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.